Hey everybody, welcome back to another Mysidia Gaming video. My name is Alex and we're going to go over the new Bane Sword equipment banner that just came out in Dragon Quest Stars. So I've put together kind of some verdicts for the banner. We're going to go through each and every single piece and we'll talk about the banner as a whole and whether or not we should roll on it. So let's get started. So there are 7 featured pieces on this banner. There's 2 weapons and they're both swords, which is kind of you're kind of hooped if you're looking for anything else for other vocations that don't use swords. Then this is not going to be the banner for you, but there are some interesting pieces in here. So there's the whole Bane Sword attire, which is super cool for glamour for your character, but then we also have the Angelic Leotard, which as you can see is really something. And there's also the Tiara that goes along with that, which has instant Angel's Breath, a skill that we saw in one of our last banners here with all the angelic stuff. Or the Archangel stuff. And then we have the Sword of Kings, which is also returning from a previous banner. And then after that, it's just your regular banner fodder. There's no Metal Slime weapons. There's no other returns of important equipment. So there's also no free chest for this one. So we had it good for a couple days. We had 2 free chests per day. Now we're down to 1 again. So let's take a look at each of these pieces of equipment. First up is the Bane Sword's blade, which is pretty cool looking, and it's a very interesting weapon. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't make the same mistake as I did with the earring daggers that I did last time, and I looked this one up online, and it actually has 2 to 3 attacks, just like the boss does. So while you see this sword's attack is at 102, it's actually quite strong because it hits 2 to 3 times, which is especially good if you're going to crit. It also has magic attack plus 15, and it has some really cool skills. So we've got Hell Slash right here, which can be up to 400% potency ZAM type attack, all enemies, which is very nice. And then it also comes with Kazam, also a ZAM attack, and that's pretty important if you have the rest of the pieces of equipment for this banner. So it also comes with a B attack and a support skill, and if you upgrade it, you're going to get a healing spell as well, or a support spell as well, and you're going to get some nice slots. This is kind of a tricky weapon because it has a lot of potential, but the slots are kind of confused. So to be honest with you, I think that there's a lot of potential here. I think that it's definitely not a bad weapon. I think it's hard to find a vocation for it because the multiple attacks make you want to go Battle Master, but the spells don't really fit anything, maybe Armamentalist. So I would say you'd probably put this on something that's going to cast spells. What's interesting is that all of the Psaro stuff gives magic attack, so if a Battle Master had it all on, he would be a stronger spellcaster than usual, so that could be kind of interesting to have it all on a Battle Master, so they have the best of both worlds. But then if you have it on a Battle Master, you don't have very many attack skills to take advantage of some of the damage buffs that you would get. So I would probably just use this on Armamentalist if I were you. So next up we've got the Bane's Sword Headband, which has okay defense, but it has magic attack plus 10, and then it has 2 skills that are so-so. So we have the ability tricks low. We've talked about this before. You're looking at like a 1 to 1.5 second reduction on your CT for your skill, and specifically attack abilities, and then strength plus mid. So this can get up to strength plus 15, which isn't terrible, but it's just considering some of the other helmets that we have that have more active skills, this isn't anything special. So really there's not a lot to look at here, just a really cool glamour piece, and you don't really need to chase this at all unless you're really set on looking like Psaro. Okay, so next up we have the Bane Sword's Attire top, and this one's kind of cool. So the defense isn't terrible. It's not going to be the strongest thing that you can get, but it has some ZAM boosts. So this is obviously pretty huge, 30% potency boost to your ZAM attacks, and that works really well with the sword because the sword has 2 ZAM attacks. And then you also get Overflowing Magic, which has a 15% chance to fill your CT by 20% at the start of turn, and that's important start of the turn, so that's always really, really good to fill up your CT like that. So this is actually a pretty nice piece. You also get, so you get your magic attack plus 10, you get your glamour, you get your skills, and this is going to work with any spellcaster that has ZAM type spells, but it's also going to work with anybody that has the Bane Sword blade equipped, or anybody that maybe if you strip the Hell Slash off of it, although I wouldn't if I were you, then this would work for them as well. So this is definitely one of the better pieces in the entire banner. Next up, we've got the Bane Sword's Attire bottom, and this has one good skill and one bad. So the attack spell tricks, we talked about this before, not that relevant, but the Dark Breath down, these are always good skills, and it's hard to rate these pieces of equipment because they're obviously good when you're fighting something with Dark Breath. It's going to make your time so much easier to beat that boss, but on all the other times when you're not fighting something with Dark Breath, then this is not important because again, we have all these things that we've gotten before that have better skills that are good for every single battle and not just some battles. So overall with these Attire bottoms, again, magic attack, if you have the full set, man, you're going to be doing some magic damage, and it looks very cool, but you know, there's just not enough going on for this piece to warrant you spending your hard-earned gems. Okay, so we're going to move on to the angelic stuff, and this one's pretty interesting. So the angelic stuff's actually a little bit stronger than it looks. So let's just go for reference here. The Bane Sword's Attire top is max 76 and then 45 on the headband. When you go to the angelic stuff, it's actually 86 and then 51, so it's a little bit higher. So the defense isn't bad, and then you get Fire Breath down 30%, and then Ice Breath down 30%. This is very versatile, like we were just talking about. You also get magic attack plus 15, so you know you're getting a lot of stats here. So this isn't a bad piece by any means, and I read online that Ice Breath damage down is hard to get on equipment, so that makes this very valuable as well. However, it's kind of the same as we were just talking about, where it's not actively doing anything when you don't need those skills, so it's very situational. You might use it sometimes, but you might have better equipment for general use. So just looking at it again, you'd probably put this on a spellcaster, and you don't want to pull this piece unless you want to look like an angel. Next up, we have the Angelic Tiara, which is really interesting because it's actually quite strong for a headgear, but the skill that it gets is not magic attack up, it's max HP plus 7, so that's not that great. We get Attack Spellguard. I'm going to talk about this first. Attack Spellguard is just super versatile. We saw this last banner. It's an all-around skill that is very, very useful because it's just going to help you in a lot of fights. That's better than a specific breath damage down. Now, Instant Angel's Breath, you might remember that all of the weapons, the Archangel's weapons, had Angel's Breath to put a regen effect on them. So this is going to cast Angel's Breath when the battle starts. So not a percent chance, it's going to cast, which is really great because you're always going to get it. However, when a battle starts, you might not be that damaged if you're getting into the boss, unless the rounds before that were hard. You won't actually need this at the beginning of the battle. You would need this at the beginning of our round after you've taken heavy damage. So this is not as good as it looks, although it could have been really cool. So with this piece, I'm not thinking too highly of it. I think that, you know, again, if you pull it, you've got an all-rounder defensive piece, but man, I wish that Instant Angel's Breath worked differently. Okay, so finally we've got the Sword of Kings, which is the sword we've already had, and you've probably seen a lot of people with it because it's got some really good skills and it's quite powerful. So the main skill on here is Giga Slash, which can go up to a 520% potency zap attack, and then it can cut an enemy's CT by 30%. So this is like using your charge crash skill or your interrupt skills with warrior, but you get your most powerful attack on it as well. So it's very, very useful for damaging a boss and maybe even putting them over the brink, but then making sure their casts, the threshold cast of a boss when it goes down to the next HP bar, doesn't link up too closely with a spell that they're casting currently. So that's kind of nice. And then it comes also with Kaswoosh, which is a good spell as well. And then you get an attack ability slot for C and a support spell. If you evolve it, you're going to eventually get another support skill, and you're going to rank up your other skills. But the issue with this sword is kind of similar again. We don't have that many spellcasters that equip swords. It's really a weird loadout. If you put it on a battle master, they're not going to have a lot of skills they can use on here very efficiently, just the 2 attack skills, and the C skill is not going to be that great. So this is better off on an armamentalist that would be able to use this for their magic flurry with the Kaswoosh, or this might also be a good support weapon, just because you can go into a fight and say, well, I've got a good Giga Slash to fight the boss, but I've also got my support spell. I can heal if I need to, so this could be like kind of a utility weapon that way, and it's also just a very strong weapon, so you can't really beat that. So it's definitely pretty interesting, and it fits quite a few vocations that have swords. It's just hard to pin down exactly where this would go, except for maybe armamentalist. So overall, you should be happy if you get this. So after this, we're just going into all of our usual fodder. You can see all this stuff here. It's the stuff that's always in these banners, but there's no metal slime weapons or anything. So nothing too crazy. Looking at the banner overall, I'm going to pull up these skills, or the verdicts for everything here for you guys to see, just so that you can take a look at that while I talk. So looking at the banner overall, I don't think that this is a banner that you need to chase. I don't think you need to pull on it at all. The Bane sword blade is good, as is a few of the armor pieces, but it's better to save for some of the banners coming up that have armor pieces and weapons that have all around better slots, better utility. They're better suited to specific vocations, but we are going to have a delay because of COVID-19. So if you want to pull on this because you're going to have a lot of time to save up gems, but we don't know how long, then maybe that's what you do, but overall, I don't think that this is a banner that you should pull on. Looking at this now, I see on the Bane Sword's blade, I said possible vocations Paladin. That's meant to be Battle Master, but my editing skills are clearly not up to par. So anyway, that's going to be it for this banner video. Let me know in the comments below if I missed anything, or if you have recommendations for this gear, and let me know if you did pull on it, because I'm very interested to know how your pulls went as well. But until next time, keep it real, everybody. Thank you so much for watching this video. You can show your support with a like and subscribe, and by checking out my Patreon at patreon.com/MysidiaGaming. Until next time, keep it real, Mysidians.